out as we develop a need for more land and resources in Africa. The decimated and malnourished African will not be any great threat. But I caution you that everything we are discussing here must remain in this room, because these are not the times when genocide should be discussed or practiced openly. I repeat to you again, it must be done so silently and gradually that in the long run, the Negro's demise will look like mass suicide. The way how we are doing this, none of us will carry the blame. So the first dragon, the Minister of Legal Terrorism and Plantation Protection, says, well, it is working very successfully, and we can assure you that our recent operation in Tivoli Gardens has come off with a great plus. Our soldiers and police needed more practice in preparation for the time when the big revolts do happen. And we cannot overestimate the importance of getting them accustomed to killing their own mother's children.
Black top, black top, black top, black top. Stop shooting black people, we are gonna drop.
They must be conditioned to do this with no difficulty if we are going to be able to keep profits rolling out of this plantation at the same rate that we have become accustomed to. So the practice they get from regular operations like Operation Overkill in Tivoli will toughen their hearts like stone. And just in case there is any feeling of remorse when they remember the agonizing screams that came from the lips of their own kindred that they have slaughtered, we will deaden their conscience with the promise of promotion by focusing their minds on the prospects of having a sure income at a time when it is rare for a Negro. They will be easily hypnotized into unfeelingness about participating in the slaughter of their own mother's children. You can say that with the training we have given our police and soldiers, we have created our very own trained beasts. The second dragon, the Minister of Guile and Deception and Social Manipulation, says, now that this legal slaughter has taken place in Tivoli, the poor will be forced to comply with the plan to squeeze their belly a whole lot more. They will be forced to grin and bear it. They will have no choice but to continue competing desperately with one another for the fewer places that have been allotted on the ladder of control, restricted, supervised, selfish progress. The first dragon, the Minister of Legal Terrorism and Plantation Protection, says fear of an awesome firepower of state terrorism will see to it that all the Negroes on these plantations stay put in their place at the very bottom of every economic chart. Snow White, the money god, says the international outcry will be minimum because we have developed a professional class that is expert in spinning the lie. When our spin masters concoct their labels like terrorist gangs, drug dealers, street criminals, no one will feel any sympathy for the poor bastards that have been slaughtered. And we must always make sure that our legal gangs are the best armed. But at the same time, we must disarm the Negroes so that if they should think collectively of resisting the organized pressures of extinction, their gangs will only be powerless gangs. The second dragon, the Minister of Guile and Deception and Social Manipulation, says, well, as you know, we've already planted a psychological program in the minds of our legal gangs that will help them to kill their own people without hesitancy. Here is how it works. The program is a thought. It is the very first thought that springs into action in the brain computer of our trained Negro soldiers and police when the image of poor black people is invoked. Instantly, the mind responds with scorn, detest, shame, contempt, disdain, loathing, and unadmitted hatred. And at the same time, their love for tourists and anything white and foreign will increase to the extent that hatred for their own kind increases. with this piece of software properly installed in their minds, their skin could be as black as hell, but they will mercilessly kill any human being on 2 legs that does not have blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin. You can say that with this piece of software, we've cloned our very own killing machines that are programmed to kill black. So, when we clothe our legal gangs with uniforms, their trigger fingers will work without hesitancy, especially when they know that their uniforms give them the right and authority to murder with impunity. The first dragon, the Minister of Legal Terrorism and Plantation Protection, says these scumbags are so sick in their head that every time when we need it, we can always find a sick nigger who would kill another nigger just for rice and peas. We use them in the Ashanti Wars. We use them in the Abyssinian Wars. We use them as buffalo soldiers against the Native Americans. We use them in Vietnam, and we use them in Iraq, and we use them all across the Caribbean, and up to this very day, all across the continent of Africa. There will never be a shortage of coons that could be found for the job of killing other niggers. So Snow White, the money god, says, if we were to really tell the truth, as much as we created these sick coons in uniforms and maintained them, we still hate their guts just as much as we do any other nigger. At best we tolerate them because they are useful. But when the right time comes, we will get rid of them the same way we did those other hungry bastards in Tivoli. But oh, for the good old days, when we did not have to bother about the rantings of these human rights activists.